Hey everyone, we're going to make ocean marble soaps today, but first let me introduce you to my partner in crime. Mr. Soaps and Such is with us today.
Hello, I'm back again for another video. We appreciate your positive feedback and want to get right into it here with this ocean marble soap. I'm anxious to see this.
So you will see some instructions on the screen, but the bulk of it's going to be in my voice. So if you don't have sound up, I do give you hints. Please turn it on every time. This is where you get your info. Melting the soap I already put up at the top of the screen. This is the coveted premium crystal clear soap, and it has been melted at 30-second increments, slowing that down to about 15 seconds as it gets closer to being melted. And you saw my fragrance up there. By the way, if you haven't tried Sea Minerals, you have to. It's amazing. I'm pouring about 1 to 1.5 ounces in these little cups. These little cups, these are Mad Mica cups. Yes, I am an affiliate with them. You can also get these cups at other places. You can find them on Amazon as well. They just don't have the really cool Mad Micas logo on them. They hold 3.4 ounces. I'm pouring about 1.5, 1.5 ounces to 1 ounce in the blue one, I think. And all I'm doing is I'm creating, the first layer is my background. And I'm making a little swirl. Oh yeah, take note of that foreshadowing there. There's some spillage today. As usual. Do you expect anything else?
Shocking.
So I'm swirling here the Bermuda Triangle and the Twilight Blue. And in such a very tiny amount in here, like the most in this is going to be 3 ounces. And I don't think it's even that much, but it's such a thin layer that it's going to set up fairly quickly. And this means that your swirl is going to hold. If you tried this same exact swirl that I just did, and you filled that entire mold there up to the top just by pouring like I did, just 2 buckets of soap in, it's going to just make, it'll be a pretty color, but it's going to make one color. You're not going to get a lot of swirling because it's going to meld together. But this is why we do the swirling in layers in this type of marble soap. If you haven't gotten the picture already, this soap now that you're looking at is set up. And I don't think enough people get that when I set it up or when I stop the camera and fast forward. I don't want you to have to watch soap set up. So you see me edit that out. It is now set up. And the only reason I'm saying this is because I know there was some confusion with one of my other soaps. Someone was thinking that I was continuing to add the layers without it setting up at all. I do add a little bit, and I'll try in this one to let you know what's going on as far as when it's set up. So I'm pouring. I know it took me a while to get this temperature, and that's just has to do with the camera and getting that being able to get the angle correct for that. But I'm pouring at about 130, and I'm just pouring a very small amount. It's about 1/4 of an inch at the most, more like 1/8 of an inch maybe. And then I'm going to put in a few colors. This is the marbling technique, is putting in a few colors in a variety of ways, and then pouring a little bit more clear over that same layer and letting that clear move the soap and marble it. That's where you get the marble effect. And then I'm typically not going to do more than 3 colors, or maybe 3 colors and a glitter. This right here is dispersed in alcohol. There's no soap in that one that I just flung. Anytime you see little spots, and this is just dry mica. So those colors are not being added with soap. 1 in alcohol, 1 not. Now here's, I pour the clear, and you'll see it starts to move the colors. And with this one, I'm come in with the stick and move it a little. I prefer to kind of sling the dry micas around a little bit. And I use the stick frequently to help me move the colors and swirl a little bit. Trust me, you do not want to try to stir. And you don't want to try to do swirls in the same way that cold process soap makers do. That's too much swirling for our type of soap. It's just going to mix it in and muddy the colors. The less, the better. And that is soap. That is that I poured in with the white. It is clear soap with Sparkle Me Aqua and just a drop or two of titanium dioxide. And oh, here comes my favorite spill. But watch the colors moving too. That's how we get this effect. And there we go. Now it's Miss Terry's.
It's
video.
official. It's official. It's official.
Oh, but yeah, I got to keep going. So what I do is I keep going and pouring because the layer isn't done yet, and I'm not going to compromise the soap to clean up that mess. What I do is when I get that layer set up and it's starting to dry, which is now, then I allow that spill to dry. It's much easier. It was right there on my clean, disinfected, sanitized mat. And what I will do is peel it up and melt it again, and you'll see me use that soap later because it's good, viable soap. If it spilled on the floor, that'd be a different story. Where you see me pouring the clear in here over these colors, even though I already had them swirled, I'm kind of just clearing a little space. You still want to see a little bit of that bottom color showing through. Otherwise, it's pointless to have it there. I mean, not pointless because it does give a deep, dark background, but I want some of that to show through. So every time you see me pouring clear in a spot, I'm moving a little bit of the marbling out of the way.
How long do you let it set before you start adding the new stuff?
Great question. Typically, 20 minutes is good. It really does depend on your soap base and your environment, though. So just take a stick or a stir stick or one of your little spatulas and tap it. And if you want it fully set up, you're not waiting like an acorn swirl. You only want a thick skin. This isn't that. You want it to fully set up between these layers, and it set up, and now this is a new layer with starting with more clear. Again, key to the marble technique. And here we go with Harold's Purple Crayon. One real quick thing I want to add that I would change. I always tell you what I would do different other than not spilling the soap. I would spray the Harold's Purple Crayon a little bit better with the alcohol. I just did 2 little spritzes, and I didn't quite catch some of the ones at the top, and it just got a little splotchy. It's not bad. I just would have preferred it to swirl in a little bit more. It was so dark, I didn't really notice it. So that was on me. Now, I don't know if you noticed, I added a little bit more titanium dioxide to that white. But again, that's the white that spilled, same thing. But I'm adding more titanium dioxide every layer that I go with that. And you'll see a little bit at the end, there's even a layer with just a tiny bit of titanium dioxide. I'm going for a look here in the beginning of this. I'm trying to do, if you were above the ocean in whatever, a balloon.
If you had a drone.
If you had a drone
video up over it. Yeah.
And a camera looking down at the ocean. I wanted kind of a swirly ocean, real deep out in the ocean, so you could see some of the waves cresting, and you could see a little bit of the foam going on some of the waves. That's the look, but you can see the really deep areas, the deeper, darker areas. That's what I'm going for. That isn't how it turns out, though. But it turns out really pretty. It's just not the look I intended, and I'm not upset about it at all. I do find that, and it kind of shows in this layer, I think, a little bit. I find it much easier in the larger slab mold. It's harder in the small mold, but I wanted to see if I could do it. That was part of this experiment for 2 reasons. One, I wanted to just see if I could do it. I know you don't all have slab molds, and you were trying to find them, and the same one that I have is not available on Amazon anymore. So some of them can get quite expensive. So you can do it in a loaf mold. It's just not as fun.
Like the nebula.
Yeah.
You make in the larger mold.
Yeah, the nebula, the pink marble soap that I did.
Yeah.
And what's the marbled galaxy soap that I did? All of those were in that big slab mold. And one of them I'm sure will be linked in the end cap, in the end little thing that gives you suggested videos. I'll link at least one of those in there, or the playlist that has them, so you can see what I'm talking about. But that slab mold is easier, a little more fun because you can kind of sling the colors around a little bit more. I feel like there's more control. So that was set up. I don't know if you see now when I'm pouring the clear, nothing's happening underneath because it's a fully set up soap.
I think it's more obvious when you move it diagonally left and right like you did. That was pretty good.
I kind of thought that made it obvious, but I don't think everybody caught that.
Because you can see that the soap isn't doing anything. It's
right.
like, hey, look, it's set up. And how do I know it's not sloshing around? That's how I know.
Right. And that's kind of, well, that's part of why I did it, and to also ensure coverage from side to side. But yeah, I don't think everybody caught that the last few videos I did, so I just want to be sure. Now, sea glass is an amazing color, and I absolutely love it, but we have problems. And it isn't Mad Micah's fault. It is my fault. And I didn't even really interpret my problem. It wasn't that I poured too cold. I didn't pour enough soap in that. I was making a last-minute decision. Do I want this in soap or do I want it just in alcohol? And I wasn't sure what I was doing at that moment. And I made the decision to add soap, but I didn't add enough. I added almost the amount I would add if I were adding alcohol, which made the whole thing kind of just set up too quickly because it cooled super fast. But it cooled fast because I didn't add enough soap. So that was all my fault. And I don't like the way it's going. I was panicking here. It wasn't mixing. It wasn't swirling. All it was doing was kind of cloudying things up. You can't quite see it on camera. But the Sparkle Me Aqua in with it, it just got really cloudy. So it didn't work. So you have to fly by the seat of your pants. There's always a way to fix it. So my way to fix it here was to get rid of that layer because everything underneath it was beautiful. So I dumped the layer back in. It is not wasted soap. That's going to become little crystal pieces for something else. Because, and of course, I almost spill it again. The almost spills in this are more than the spills. It's crazy. I have spatial relationship issues, and so that's what happens. Also, trying to keep everything under the camera sometimes makes it the spacing a little bit tight. So this last layer is kind of my Hail Mary. This was like, can I save this soap? Because getting that layer off was key, but I still wanted to try to get a look of the sea. And then I thought maybe I could go for a shoreline look. So that's kind of what I was going for at my little Hail Mary at the end, which you'll see. Several of you have asked me about this maneuver here. And I'm sorry, my voice is getting froggy. Let me grab a sip of water real quick while you watch.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really like... excuse me. I like how the soaps look like space or water. Like this one's ocean marble, but I really like how just by stirring it around and having that little bit of glitter and a little bit of mica, it just sitting a certain way, it just gives it that space feel.
Okay, I hate to interrupt, but this part here is really important. You saw me say 1 drop, and the further details that I was talking about, you cannot do this technique on the first layer. You're going to end up with titanium dioxide on the outside of your soap. This is a mid to top layer technique. The titanium dioxide will sink, and if you add too much or move it too much, it's going to make a hot mess, and it won't incorporate into the soap. Because I just used 1 drop and I flung it kind of all across that one side, it all incorporated and now is soap and not just lumps of titanium dioxide sitting in soap that will get all over your hands. Won't hurt anybody, but it might freak somebody out a little bit, and it might create kind of a weird hole in your soap when you go to cut it. So 1 drop is all that's needed for that technique. Now, you tell me, I don't think that ended up looking like a shoreline. With it, that's kind of what I was going for. That last.
Is that why it's on that one side? Oh yeah, because you have to remember which part is going to be the frame. Mm-hmm. I don't hear you say that a lot, but I know that you're intending to. But if people are thinking of it, when you're creating melt and pour soap as a soap art form, your soap is the frame, and so depending on whether you're in a slab or you're in one of these loaves, you got to see which way is it going to actually be once you've cut it into the little pieces, and then you can look through and go, oh wow, like not even knowing what was coming, how it was really going to turn out before you cut it.
And that's one reason I put, now not for so much for this soap, but for a lot of my soaps, you'll see me making, I have marks on the sides of some of my molds, and that's so I can see where I'm going to cut. So if I'm putting embeds in, I know that they're going to be within the frame of that particular soap as I cut them. Because you don't want like half a mermaid in your soap. Well, you do end up with half a mermaid with the mermaid tail soaps, but you don't want part of that tail cut off. So you need to see where it is. So I mark it. With these, it's not that precise, but you still need to have an idea of the image you're going for. And while I was going for that, the last little ditch effort to make it look like the ocean, I was saying, okay, well, we'll go from the deep ocean to a shoreline by adding that. And to me, I mean, it doesn't look like a shoreline. It does look like an ocean picture to me, but what it looks like to me is that you're on the ocean floor. Like your view is, when I turn it back around, like I don't know, I was just looking at it this way because I look at them from all angles. That's kind of part of how to perceive it the best to me.
So what's this the view of?
The ocean floor. So if you were at the ocean floor with a mask on or whatever, or a camera, and you're viewing, and floating up from the ocean floor, it either looks, you could say that's somebody stirring up the sand. You could say it's a little bit of activity on the ocean floor. I see like little phantoms. I don't know. I that's just what the image that popped in my head. See ocean phantoms. Of what? I don't know.
Well, in the Marianas Trench, have you ever seen those documentary videos that way down there? That's like miles down. It's like 36,000 feet or something. How many ever miles down? And there are some translucent, is that the right word? Transparent,
Yeah.
transparent, translucent, whatever.
Yeah.
Creatures like that. So that's
Yeah.
actually kind of deep ocean looking to me.
Yeah, it could definitely be. Yeah, you could be at the very bottom of a very deep part of the ocean. And there you'll find, I mean, jellyfish are transparent. You find those all over. There are a lot of really interesting looking transparent creatures in the sea. Someday I am going to do one that includes glow in the dark pigment, because you also have bioluminescence down there. You have, and at the shore, you have bioluminescence in the sea. So things that will glow on their own, they create their own light. And I'm going to be playing with that in the future for sure. That just reminded me of that.
Yeah. And so you're having to do the little nicks at the end there, little notch marks, so you know where the thing is going to be to cut. And then you're just eyeballing it. You do it on both sides, right?
Yeah, I do it on both sides, and I really don't eyeball it that much. I really try to line it up in those. And that's why I'm kind of, if you can notice this time, I'm coming in from each side a little bit with that knife. Normally I had been just making one single mark, and I find that's harder to see.
So you're doing a wedge.
Yeah,
Diagonal
a little. I
down
did
on
this
each.
time. This is the first time I've ever done that. I feel like the single line is harder for me to see. I'm old, but it was easier to see this time and make sure that knife was lined up before I pushed down. Now the part that is a little bit loosey-goosey is you also have to make sure that knife is straight up and down. And sometimes you'll see me really moving it around within the camera angles, because I'm trying to make sure I can see where that knife is sideways, the side angle of it, to make sure it's not going to cut a wedge or cut a soap that's really off kilter. I think I did a pretty good job this time.
Yeah, I was just picturing needing paramedics nearby when I start learning how to do soaps. Like just how different the experience will likely be if I'm the one doing the recording, or during the recording, if I'm the one doing the cutting.
Well, and that's a good point, because what I would tell you and any of our viewers that are doing this knife is extremely sharp. It's a double-handled cheese knife, and they are really sharp. But here's the key: slow. You got to do. There are times in melt and pour where you have to move fast, or your soap's going to set up. But when it comes time to cut, don't move fast. You have to be slow and take your time. Get everything lined up the way you want it. Make sure everything is out of the way, meaning like thumbs and fingers, and then push down. And you just kind of, that's what takes me so long to cut these. Just 3 soaps. I could have done it in 2 seconds if I wanted to, but I might have cut my finger off, or I might have cut them really badly.
It's like, ooh, look, Mr. Soaps cut his finger again.
I'm really hoping that's not in your future.
I'm just kidding. Don't manifest it. Don't manifest
right.
it. Isn't it funny? That's the thing you can manifest just by saying it, but you don't accidentally say, "Bosh, what if? Hope I don't win $563 million from the Mega Millions." Just accidentally manifesting things. But you
Oops, I didn't mean to say that out loud.
I can accidentally manifest a flesh wound, though. These look so cool. I love the one in the middle there with the
yeah, that's my favorite, actually.
See, that's what I mean about the frame. Sorry to cut you off there,
Yeah.
but this part, I love when we do the close-ups. Go ahead, Terry.
No, I totally get you. That circular one was one of my favorite little ones. Do you, I mean, I don't know if you see what I see. I know a couple of you on Facebook did mention the ghosts and the phantoms, and you did see what I was talking about. Or sea creatures, whatever you want to call it. But do you understand the image? I don't know if you all see it. If you see the images of like something moving along the bottom of the ocean floor, let me know, because you might see something totally different. You might see clouds in the sky, and it doesn't matter what you see if you like it.
It's a Rorschach test.
Yeah.
Test, isn't that what it is? Rorschach.
I have so many Rorschach tests.
Say that 10 times fast.
I can't.
I can't either.
And I'm pretty good with tongue twisters.
I
can't
barely
do that
could
one.
say it 1 time fast. Rorschach.
Rorschach. It's a very obnoxious
Isn't that
word.
a character from Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Welcome back, Carter.
Oh, no, that's Horseshack.
Anyway, this is really cool. I like that. I like that we can get a little nice close. Sorry, I keep clearing my throat there. There's supposed to be a little cough button. My cough button is here.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Didn't know we had a cough
Rogan
button.
has them. Rogan installed them. Literally has one right next to him. He hit a square button so that when he coughs, he can just hit the button, cough real quick, and then not have to stop the whole thing.
Okay. Well, someday I'll have to learn to use that, I guess. So these are the close-ups. In a moment, you're going to see the Lightbox pictures. I really feel like the color is truer in the video pictures, and the very last one. It's sometimes hard to balance the lighting in the Lightbox the way I want it, because I'm not a great photographer. So I'll just say that I'm just not. I can fake it pretty well, but sometimes my lighting is difficult. Even in a light box, it's just not always accurate to the colors. I think this is pretty true to what we saw.
Yeah, you can see through it. Like you can see through the different layers. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I mean the one on the left just looks like a sea. It looks like you could like a space. Like you're going through some kind of
and the dimension.
Cloud. Yeah.
Oh, sorry to interrupt.
No.
Yeah, the dimension, that's one of the things I love. And one of the reasons I love Melt and Pour is that clarity and the ability to create soaps that you want to dive into, as my daughter mentioned on Facebook. She said she wanted to dive in. And it does give me that feeling. See, they're a little darker.
That's why I do the zoom in when I'm editing these like that. It's like to go in close.
Well, if you have gotten this far, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. And if you have any questions, any comments, if there's something I left out or you don't understand, please feel free to leave that in the comments. And what do you...
Yes, and we'll be doing more content like this with both of us involved. And we really appreciate your support. Looking forward to doing more videos for you. And boy, that was a cool angle there. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.